Entrepreneurs that have, let's say, never worked jobs before, or people who go on to playing in the NFL, like they have extremely high belief in themselves, almost to the point of delusion. But when you're talking about hiring people to work within the company,
how fast do you think you can tell this person has got it or hasn't got it?
Pretty quickly. If they start talking about their past and how they had a problem with their ex-company did this, I'm just going to be the next story in their victimhood. But for the most part, I think
if you had to give another person who's maybe in like 2020 version of Supra 5 feet away from gold and they're looking at like, how do I build this team? What would be your 3 pieces of advice to build that winning team?
I would say,
I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Olliver.
Welcome to the Supra Human Show, yeah?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Supra Human Show with your host, Ben Olliver, and the doc, Mr. Taylor Waters. And we are joined by the team now, the Madsen team, John Madsen, Nineveh Madsen. So now we need to be on twice as good behavior.
Yeah, swearing
I've got
down.
sweat down my back already, and we haven't even started.
you like hesitated on that intro. Like I saw it for a second. You're like,
I was gripping the mic.
What do I say?
Yeah.
You look more tense than you normally do.
Yeah, my blood pressure's even higher. But no, so today we wanted to talk about essentially building the winning team that we've built so far. I say so far because it's continuing to grow at Superhuman, and really just picking your brains on what you feel a winner is, how do you build a winning team, what your vision was, initially, and kind of just go into depth on all things Supra. So a good question to kick it off is, what is your definition of a winner?
my definition of a winner is someone who's relentless in their pursuit, right? If they don't have the result yet, that yet word is very important at the end. It's somebody who is headed down that direction. They're playing the game of life for something. And when we're looking for people to join this community, it's like, I want this company to be that channel for them to express that winningness in their lives. So for me, it's all about the mental attitude, really.
Would you attach any outcome to, like, does there have to be a certain outcome for you to define someone as a winner? Because it's like we spoke about in the past, like participation trophies. Like everyone's a winner. It's like, well, there has to be a winner and loser.
Yeah.
So like, would you attach like a certain outcome, whether it's like evidence or an achievement, that you would also kind of lump in with that? Like, do they have to get the outcome to be the winner, or are they just continually chasing?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, some people, some people say they're a winner, but there's no evidence of it. And so just like anything else, the evidence has to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And some for some though, right? Like maybe the evidence isn't there yet. You see something in somebody, but if you take that person and they have tons of potential. One of the things that my coach Urban Meyer said to me one time, and I've never forgotten it, he said, "You have one of the highest potentials I've ever seen." And I kind of got this, I'm like a words of affirmation. She knows this. Like, you give me a compliment, like I'll take that shit in.
You're so good.
Yeah. I'm like, and so like I started to get this smile on my face, and he's like, "That's not a compliment, by the way. That's the worst thing somebody could say about you." Mm-hmm. And I was like, whoa, and he's like, "If you have potential, it means you haven't done shit yet." And so you can see something in somebody, but really quick, you're going to have to see the evidence of that coming to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, to answer that question, I was going to use the word relentless, but pair it with execution, because my background is very different from John's. So, I've been an employee for so long before I became a business owner, before I became an entrepreneur. So for me, I really associate well with people who are doers. Who actually know how to implement and do what they say they're going to do. So I look for relentless execution and consistent execution. Then I know somebody is a winner. So I can see potential in someone, but not until I see that first. So I'm the style of leader that needs to see the evidence first before I can believe in your potential to become even more. It's almost like this test that you go through with me. And I don't know if you guys have experienced that at all, like working with me. I'm just doing like a self-assessment, answering the question of like, how do you build a team of winners? What do I look for? Because there are big talkers out there, you know, and they sound great, or they may look great on paper, right, in the hiring process. I'm like, okay, this all sounds good. Let me see what you can do.
Yeah. It's
Show
funny.
me what you can do in 30 days.
One of our coaches, Kadoni, he, in his video application, one of the questions we asked is, what makes you an A-star player? And his video immediately, he said, because I have the evidence. And then he listed off just all of the things that he's accomplished. And for me, that was, it's that balance between confidence and arrogance, and the difference is the evidence. Where if someone has zero evidence to back up what they're saying, it's a combination of like arrogance and delusion. And we've spoke about it, it's like you need some kind of delusion, because you're starting with zero. And so you have to have some kind of like, you need to be a little bit deluded, but then there's some people where you're just outright, you know, you're just so away from reality of what you think you're doing, and there's just nothing.
I think it depends on the role, right? Because when we talk about delusion, entrepreneurs that have, like, let's say never worked jobs before, like they have extremely high belief in themselves. Or people who go on to achieve, like playing in the NFL, have to have extremely high belief in themselves, almost to the point of delusion, right? But when you're talking about hiring people to work within the company, that's not necessarily a great attribute to have. Like, you want them to have confidence. And I'm going to use a word that I don't use often, but humility, because they have to be willing to learn and admit they don't know what they don't know. And I look for that as well. Like, hey, are they curious? Are they someone who likes to learn and ask questions and kind of admit that they don't know what they don't know? Because you can have someone come in, even with evidence, have high confidence, and then allow ego, right, to get in the way. And it's like, we all have something to learn here. So even myself, I'm always hungry and excited to see what don't I know, so I can learn more, because that's the pathway to growth. So I look at different things when I see extreme high belief when it comes to hiring someone on the team that I'm directly working with. Sometimes it can become a red flag for me. It's interesting. I'm looking for a doer, like someone who really prides themselves on that execution, you know, and showcasing, like, look, here's what I've done. Here's what I've produced. Here's what I've created.
I think that with winners, isn't it? It's like you might not have evidence. Like, there's winners in context, because you can be a winner in one lane and you're a loser in a different lane. But that's only because you haven't, like, to become a winner is a process. You're not just a winner at the start of something because you haven't developed any skills, no competence, nothing. But it's like, if you've got someone who can be a winner in one lane, you know they've got the ability to become a winner. Whereas you can be a loser in every lane. So it's like, then you've got no evidence that you can be a winner at anything. But it's like, again, similar like with like the NFL, for example. It's, if you can get to the NFL, you've obviously got evidence to show that you can do something well. Okay, so now I've got to take the attributes that got me to the NFL, and I need to apply them down a different pathway and then pursue that. And that's where it's like, you can sound delusional, but you've built confidence in your ability. It's just in a different field.
Yeah.
But it's the same process. It's, I'm not good at something, but I'm going to, there's common things like, I'm going to look at people who have done it already, and I'm going to ask for advice. I'm going to accept the fact that I'm not great, and I'm going to look to get better. I'm going to plan, and I'm going to monitor data and things. And there's all these things that they'll get you good at one thing, and you can just take the same skills, move it to the next lane, and become a winner in a different lane. So it's like, although someone can sound a little bit delusional, but it's like, but if they've got evidence even in a different field, take the same skills, move it elsewhere.
No different than picking a partner. Like, when I picked him, I was like, okay, who's the guy that I want to marry? And I met him. Obviously, he's a really good looking guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right?
I said, yeah, way
words
too
of
quick.
affirmation. He's hot. He has abs. I was like, at least if we're going to argue, like, this literally was my thought process. I'm like, he's hot. If we ever get in fights, which we will, as a couple, I could just look at him, his abs, and be like, well, at least he's hot. Like, I was always gonna fall back on the hot body
that
and
right
the good
there
looks.
is a great advertisement for guys that if you have abs, everything's easier.
It's a little bit
Abs
easier.
equal
But
Life easier.
it wasn't enough. Then he shared that, yeah, he had played in the NFL. And at that time, when we met, he owned a gym, which he was then shutting down. Like literally, we were going on our first date, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I've got to close the doors to my gym." Oh, okay. But what? We talk about that evidence. I'm like, he played in the NFL. Like, this guy is a winner. That's all I know. He's a winner. So if he's won before there, I know he can win again.
Yeah.
I think it's that it's that belief that kind of comes with that delusion. Because I would say like I align probably much more with your mindset. Like I'm very data driven, kind of evidence based, look at competence and evidence and those kind of things. For the creative role that you have, like the dream, you have to have like some level of delusion. And my brain just doesn't work like that. So all I have to do is believe in you. And I'm just like, he says he's going to do it. And it's like looking at the track record again, I'm like, where's the evidence? And it's like, well, you know, said he was going to play in the NFL. Odds weren't in your favor, but you did it. You know, and then it's like, we're going to build, you know, like hit 50 million. And, you know, if you told me that you probably did tell me that in 2021 when I came on board. And I'll be like, well, like, I don't know where that's going to happen, but you're so adamant that it is. And now here we are in 2025 and it's happening.
I'll tell you this. When it comes to business, it happened in layers, right? I wouldn't even have believed in 50 million back in 2019 because my goal was $1 million. And so I remember like struggling in business from 2010 to 2018, essentially. And I just had this conversation because I had to get on the phone with the IRS and was on hold. And the lady's like, "What was your income in 2019? I'm like, "Lady, I have no idea, like 400 grand. And she's like, "No, I need to know exactly." And they were going through this verification process. And so I'm like digging through records. And in 2019, I think it was like $291,000.
And I went, wait a minute, I was making 180 back then.
But now we have days in the company, you know, and it's not all profit. Money's in, money's out. But there's multiple days every month that are over 200 grand a day. And it's like 2019 to 2020, my dream was $1 million. I remember celebrating New Year's because I'm like, we need to do X amount of dollars to hit $1 million. On that day, we hit 987,000 for the year. So we missed $1 million. And the fourth quarter was like the ramp up because we were a mile away from it until like October, November, December. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to chalk that up as a win. Let's go down to the watch store. We went into Breitling at Scottsdale Fashion. I'm like, this is our $1 million, you know, deal. We had to split the 2 watches, one for her, one for me, because now if I buy something, I got to buy her something. It's, you know, it's double expensive.
It's a team.
Yeah.
It is. I'm like, hello.
but we had to split the credit card because the balance wasn't big enough.
Bank
yeah. The bank was like, "What are you guys doing?" And these watches weren't like these ones. They were different. They were, you know, it was not that expensive, but that was $1 million. Then I'm like, well, if we could do $1 million, my next goal was 10. So I like 10x the goal. And I didn't really believe it in that year, the very next year. So we went from 1 to like 3, which was pretty great. 3x is good, but it took me a couple years to believe in the 10. And then there was like an unlocking that happened from 10. I knew we could do 50. And so, you know, I couldn't have told you back in 2020 that we were going to do 50 because I wouldn't believe it myself. But something happens when you continuously put the hammer down, right? And you achieve things. It's like all of those little layers become evidence of you being able to do something. And now like the top's blown off. Yeah. Now I can think of 250 million and be like, we're going. Who's coming?
Yeah, I can think of beyond that even.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is, for me, the experience that I had before jumping into Superhuman full time. So being a corporate executive and being part of a company that actually went around the same range from when I jumped into Supra, watching that company and being part of the growth and all the strategy and all the implementation and saying, oh, that's how you scale. That's all. When I say that's all you need, right? But there's like specific formulas that you have to use in order to create the pathway or the enablement of that scalability. So because I had seen it and experienced it, I too knew it was possible. And then jumping into the company, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we have an incredible product. And I always call it a product, but it's a service, and I get that because my experience is in SaaS. But we have a phenomenal service, which speaks volumes to you guys as coaches. I'm like, I can't even
Words
believe
of
it.
affirmation.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing. You're everything. But seriously, you're the heartbeat of the company, right? But when you have a phenomenal service and you have a product that has proven viability in the marketplace, that's just like business talk. Sorry, can't help myself. But you've essentially proven somebody will buy it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Someone's willing to buy it, and more than one person is willing to buy it, and you've been able to replicate it enough to go to 1 million to 3 million. I'm like, okay, that means you have something here. So we can get to 10. You got to figure out how to get more of it, like more of the share of the market in terms of like marketing, right?
Did you have you were saying that, and like we were having the conversation about winners, and it's like you were a winner down one avenue, like in your own world you were a winner, and again it's the same thing. You just took the same skills. You're like, oh, I've got these skills, and I can move them over now in this fitness world and become a winner in the fitness world.
I doubted that. I didn't know if I could. I didn't know, even though I had the evidence here. Now I'm going to a different industry, a different company with my husband. So now I'm dealing with the mental aspect of like, oh, what are people going to think about me? Is that just a wife got hired? Like those are all the thoughts that are racing through my mind, just to be, transparent. And then wondering like if whatever I implemented, over here would actually work here, because you're part of that process where just even implementing like a CRM was like, we all wanted to rip our hair out.
Yeah.
And the multiple agencies we went through.
It's a really interesting kind of, because that was kind of my next question, and I'm sure you'll probably have slightly different answers. Was how, or kind of what kind of team did you visualize when you realized the potential of the product or the service? When you were thinking about the 10 million, like what kind of team did I kind of visualize to have? Because I think yours would have been slightly different, because you were looking at it of like, well, I've seen what kind of team is necessary to scale. Let's try and mirror that and kind of tweak things. Whereas you were probably operating more from a like blank slate of like, what kind of people do I want and what's it going to look like? But I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on what you initially thought that was going to, and if it has it panned out the way you thought, or better or worse or different.
Yeah, there was in that time frame, it was really difficult because she came from this knowing with her experience at another place, and they had a lot more money for budgeting and for hiring and stuff like that. So for me, like what got us to 1 million was not going to get us to 10. And I had to learn that, that's a painful thing, because you have people in the beginning that are, they're doing part-time work and they have their other thing, but they're helping you here and you're paying them as much as you can, but you don't have a lot of revenue to invest in the people. So you're just like bootstrapping that stuff. And so when she came on board, with all of her decisions, everyone says like I'm the visionary, but she saw something and she had this huge vision, and she's like, we need X, we need Y, we need Z. And there was a turbulence because I'm trying to make this money. She's spending it on stuff that I don't think we need
money.
yet.
I need you to print
and I'm
some
like,
cash.
and so she's like, we need this position. I'm like, we don't need that position.
Typical wife.
I'm like, we can do that position. And so there was a big battle for a long enough period where I realized that the people that got us to 1 wasn't going to get us to 10. And then if we wanted to go from 10 to surpass 50, there was key positions that we were going to need. And some of those positions are expensive positions, and we want everybody to win in the company. And so, the team has evolved, as you have seen, because you were there right from the beginning. Yeah. And to answer the last part of your question, it's way better than I could have ever imagined. Like, I have no operations and all the stuff behind the scenes and all of that techies, like that's her world. And she's built a phenomenal, as you guys know, phenomenal team that is a team that doesn't get a lot of the credit, right? Like the people that we changed their lives, they know the coaches were a big part of that, right? The sales team had to get those people to make a decision. So oftentimes the sales team gets credit, like, hey, Grant, thank you for making me, for getting me to sign up, right?
That job.
But first impressions are important. Like if we fumble the ball from the time we sign a person up to them even meeting the coach. It's like there's a million things that goes on in the onboarding and the stuff, and you know, not to mention all the data that we need to make the company grow, where all of that stuff is often thankless because nobody sees it. And I told her the other day, I'm like, you know, the hard part for you is if you do your job to the best of your ability, nobody's gonna really give you credit. Nobody's really gonna know.
You're like the at the end of a movie, all of the graphic designers
Right.
and clothing and props, and it's like
And the movie wouldn't happen.
But it's like you wouldn't necessarily the whole thing.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm like the actor that's
right.
holding up the Golden Globe, like,
Yeah.
look at me,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, that's hard because that's part of a great business. You got to have both parts. And
I think that's
you know,
the CEO role, though.
Yeah, that's
it's
CEO
like
role.
recognizing that I'm supposed to focus on what the problem is. So imagine if you're not hearing from me, you're doing great.
Yeah.
You know, if you hear from me, like you're on my mind for a reason, and we're gonna have a conversation. But that's because I'm looking for, okay, what are the issues in the business? What hasn't been built? What have I not mitigated from a risk perspective? What am I not thinking of from a scalability perspective? I'm thinking of all the things that we need to do now to get us to where he says we're going to go. You know, if he's saying 250 million, all of a sudden my brain goes into like hyper mode, like it just starts thinking of all the positions, all the people, how I'm going to structure things. So I really think in like business architecture terms. I think what's important to note about building a business and scaling a business, right, is that you need the front end and you need the back end, and they both rely on each other, and one isn't any more important than the other. It's a symbiotic relationship. So, you know, the coaches are the front end, marketing is the front end, right? But then you need this entire back end infrastructure and team to help support and enable that from a growth scalability perspective, right?
And even because I think initially, again, whilst we were putting everything in place, even like the coaching and the sales almost operated like in silos. And there was this disconnect of like, well, what are you guys saying? What are you guys saying? And it's like, we could never like get it on point. And now, and like we were good with ops, sales were good with ops, but it was still this like this broken bridge. And now it's like perfect, where we're completely on par with exactly what we're saying. Like we know all the sales guys know the coaches, and it's way more cohesive. But a question for you, Nineveh, because and we spoke about this on the last episode, kind of. Do you get like FOMO, like fear of missing out, in the sense of like being in the background? Because I do, like, because like you do the coaches
Explain
power
that.
hour.
Oh.
You know, like I see the winning streak, and I'm like, I got no clients. Like it's like Ben.
Great,
and I'm
now
like,
you know
got
how I
nothing to
feel, Ben.
share.
Yeah.
And so,
that's just Ben.
like, you know, I'm like, I got like beaming with pride, but I'm just like, I got no pictures to share. Like, and it's like, you know, and I like, you know, Jose does coach office hours and does a phenomenal job there. And it's like, cool, not needed on that. And it's like power hour, cool, running well. And I'm almost in the position now of like,
You are,
where
because
are the
you're
problems?
running one of
And
the
I'm kinda
largest.
just,
You're running one
yeah.
of the largest departments in the company, right? You are running the largest department in the company, not one of the.
Yeah.
I want to correct myself there, because you need to recognize what you've built too, right? And I saw that in you. I was like, Ben knows how to replicate himself. Interesting. Right?
Get good mates.
Yeah. He's hired his he's hired his besties.
Lucky
I'm
my
gonna
friends are
hire my
intelligent.
best
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
too.
yeah.
And what's really tough is you were involved with the team, and so this is what happens when you start to build and scale: is you get involved, you have that team camaraderie, but you intuitively know, in order for this to grow, I need to fire myself from this specific task or this specific role that I'm doing, and I need to place someone else there. Now I'm going to have to be okay not getting the credit for that thing, not getting the adoration, not getting the hooray. And so there can be this thing where it's not FOMO, but you begin to feel kind of left out. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, not for you. Like, oh, I feel left out. Does anybody see me? Hello.
Yeah, it's even like the elite events like we got this weekend is like all of the clients that aren't my clients, and it's almost like I feel like I have to introduce myself. Like you probably don't even know who I am. Like at this point, whereas previously it's like the first event, it's like, oh, of course, I was on the calls every week. Whereas now it's like, who are you?
But
like,
I think
just a guy, just a guy in the background.
every-
Security.
everybody wants to be rewarded and recognized. That's just like a human need, right? It's human nature. So I think like with you, okay, how do we make sure that Ben is still visible? Whether it's hosting the Supra Human Show, you being on all the onboarding. So when somebody is onboarded as a new coach, they know you're the boss, right?
I mean, like
that
I've
it's
had,
just gonna feel different.
yeah, like I've gone through the FOMO now, and I've kind of just like accepted it. And so it's like I'm not necessarily looking for like the public recognition now or anything, but it was just a weird limbo of like, you know, everyone's like, great call this week, guys. And I'm like, well, what did you say? Like, was it good? But it's just, but again, exactly like you said, to put, you know, like Taylor in his position, Ryan in his, Jose in his, it's like, it's allowed me to then go like, right, what's the big problem that we've got? Like, and I can actually start focusing on it rather than like, oh shit, I need to do that call. And you kind of just spread over like 20 different things. So it's allowed a lot more focus, which has been awesome. So
let me jump in quickly.
Yeah.
I got a question because I was just thinking that it's for all three of you because you've all been part of building the whole, like when you think of Superhuman, like I'm so confident in saying that it is the best fitness coaching company on the planet. Like I've been in this game for that long and I've never seen anything that even comes close. So you've all played a role in building that. So, and like you've hired. So when you're looking to build a team of winners, what are the non-negotiables that you look for in an individual before you think about bringing them on board?
you want to get, you go.
I'll say for me, it's attitude and mentality one, right? Like if you have a person, and I'm a student of language, so I can have a conversation and I can hear patterns and it like jumps out at me. If a person doesn't take responsibility, has a victimhood mentality, they can't work for me, they can't work with me, right? There's certain red flags that like jump out at me. And so for me, that comes out in language. So if you have a simple conversation, even, you know, part of our application process, people submit a video, we ask specific questions and you get to go through them. It's like, you can tell a lot by the way a person talks, what they say, what they don't say, what they allude to, what the presupposition is. And for me, like that's been a skill that's been very much developed. I'm fascinated by human nature and human behavior. And so for me, it's this mentality, and do they have a winner's attitude? And if they do, that could at least get them in the door to see if they can grow. If they don't, that door is shut. Sometimes you make mistakes, right? I've had to take a timeout on hiring people in certain roles last year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to sit out
You've
for
been
6
put in
months.
timeout.
I'm going to fire
You've
myself.
been fired from
because,
customer support.
because there's, you know, you make mistakes sometimes, and every time you do, you look back, the red flag was there. You chose to ignore it because they had maybe another attribute that you crossed your own, you know,
You cross your own boundary,
right? To be like, maybe I can help, maybe I can fix that.
It's like the crazy hot girl. You're like,
Yeah.
I can deal with that. And then
exactly.
you're like, oh,
and then you can't, and then you know, right? And so
okay.
you make, like I make mistakes. I've made a lot of them. I'm not immune to them, but I think that unequivocally for me, that the number one thing that I'm looking for is attitude.
And how fast, when you have a conversation with someone, again, sometimes you get it wrong, but how fast do you think you can tell this person has got it or hasn't got it?
Pretty quickly,
Yeah.
right? If they start talking about their past and how they had a problem with their ex company, their ex company did this, and it's like really quickly, I'm like, I'm just going to be the next story in their victimhood story. And so sometimes people hide it well, but for the most part, I think, you know, if they get through the video portion, and then if I had to take one interview, I would pretty much know, but there would be some mistakes there too.
Lack of accountability, isn't it? When something goes wrong and the person always blames it on an external that's nothing to do with themselves, it's such a red flag.
Yeah.
It's like, they take no accountability, which is why they never get better. Because everything that goes wrong is someone else's fault. So they're never going to look at themselves and be like, I need to become better at this. It's like they're just going to think, oh, well, it was them, it was there, it was the weather, it was the wrong day, it was, and it's like, okay,
And then the last thing there too is like everybody has a different amount of ambition, right? And this is the other thing I'm looking for, because like if you look at my ambition, it's like the room can't fill it, right? The city can't fill it, right? But when people want to work for this company, it's like gauging their ambition level, because some people's ambition is just going to be like, you know what, I need this job. I want it to be a career. I want to put food on the table, and I want to, not have to worry about X, Y, and Z. And it's like that's the start and end of their ambition. Okay, cool. Like we have a role for that. And then other people might have bigger ambition. And so it's like really trying to identify the people who have big ambition. They want to win within the company. It's like, what are some things that they can do to add to the bigness of what we're doing? And can I create something, right? And I think that's probably the hardest part as a business owner. It's like recognizing everybody's ambition and making room for all of it, right? So
that's why we have to think so big.
Yeah.
We can't be limited in our thinking as business owners, because then we limit the growth of the individuals that, are joining us on the team and on the journey. And so I think, John, what you do a really, really good job of is trying to figure out, how can I get this person to win even more?
Yeah.
And so then that's where the different ideas are coming in, like where else are we expanding into? And like, we talk about the different people in the company, and we're like, oh, what? I think people don't realize that we're talking about those things behind the scenes. How can we figure out, this person's winning already, but like, where's their ambition and how can we help them grow even more? We have to think really, really expansively.
Yeah. So what attributes would you look for? Because obviously the I guess the type of roles that you would be looking at are slightly different.
Totally different.
So what are you looking at there?
I'm not looking for ambition. You better have no ambition. I'm just kidding.
And if it's there, I'm going to crush it.
Exactly. No, it's funny because here's how I will answer that. I'm looking for people who have a level of OCD.
No, it's good. I like the kind of quirky, like the weird traits that you're looking for.
I'm looking for some weird
with.
traits, because if you know the people that, are behind the scenes, they are orderly, they're very meticulous, detail oriented, they're calm in the storm. So they're not very like jumpy, with emotions. They're just very even keel. So I'm looking for that like obsessive nature, very detail oriented. I personally love to hire women, not that, love men, right? But you need that balance too within the organization as well. So when I first stepped into the company, we didn't have a lot of women that worked in the company. And I'm like, look, there's skills and attributes and characteristics that women have even naturally that can be very advantageous to the growth of this company. And so I look for women who are hungry, because most women are very ambitious because they're hungry to prove themselves. So it's not necessarily just about, oh, I want to go be an entrepreneur, because I'm like, hey, maybe someday if you want to be, but I'm not looking for someone who wants to go be a me necessarily, because then it creates this adversary relationship. And I've had that happen to me before. I'm like, hey, I recognize that you're entrepreneurial. You're not even okay with being intrapreneurial. So you need to just go do your own thing and go on your journey, and it's okay, and let me figure out what I did wrong as a leader that didn't help you see the growth potential you could have had in this company. Maybe I didn't articulate that well enough. But circling back to that OCD level, it's because I operate a certain way. So I look for like key things, just very silly things, like how do you communicate? How responsive are you? Like if you don't respond to me fast enough, I mean, you can ask this guy. It really frustrates me and bothers me, because I want to know I can depend on you. But going back to, and I'll end it on this with women, I think women want to prove something. So I love to hire women because they're hungry to prove themselves in the workplace, to their partners, to the world. And so they've got this chip on their shoulders that I don't think a lot of people realize they have. And so I'm like, they're going to be they're hard workers. I've never met a woman that isn't a hard worker. And that is detail oriented. Right. So that's what I look for.
That's a very intrinsic drive as well, isn't it? If someone wants to prove themselves, the salary doesn't matter. It's like, it's not
Yeah,
like, oh, well, if I
I'm
get
gonna
paid
need
more,
you to
I'm
have
going to work
some
harder.
trauma.
It's like, whatever the salary is, I'm going to prove myself anyway.
Yeah.
So like that internal drive is such a great trait in someone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, trauma is the other thing I look for. Like there's some kind of trauma level.
Some solid PTSD.
Yeah, some solid PTSD, but it's connecting on that level because it's like what happened to you. I like to hear those stories because I'm like, that articulates into this specific skill. There's a superpower there. I always say you can turn your trauma into triumph. So I look for that as well. Like, did they have some kind of adversity in their life?
Yeah, I think like attitude is a big one that I look for. Like aptitude is another one in terms of just like competence. Like do they have an aptitude for it? And then I also look at the what are their goals. Are they more of like an entrepreneur? And I also look at kind of where their priorities are. And really, I'm looking at kind of red flags rather than green flags. I'm looking for reasons to not hire you. And it could be something, and by no means am I saying like prioritizing family is wrong or bad or anything, but if it's just how something is phrased, where in my head it's like, so am I going to have to compete to get your attention if every time your kid is doing anything, which is going to be every afternoon, you're going to be like, oh, sorry, I was doing this. It's like, that's going to piss me off. And it's like, I'm not saying you're wrong for doing that, but you're just not right for this role. And so I'm kind of looking at those things, but how they speak about themselves. I'm looking for like a team player. If it's like I this, I that, then I'm kind of, again, because we're a big team and we operate as a team. And then the other one, which is I only really kind of see in the interview, is because a lot of our coaches have been running their own businesses from day one and they've not worked for someone. So it's almost like, how do you deal with conflict? How do you deal with someone telling you what to do? How do you deal with following something which doesn't necessarily align with like an underlying belief or philosophy that you have, but it's also your job. And so it's like, maybe you don't believe in this supplement, but as a company, we do. And so like, are you going to get along with that? Or are you going to be like, nope, don't like it? And I kind of look for those things and it's like, sooner or later, there's going to be this and I can just avoid that right now. And I just be like, no. But again, like you make some mistakes, but overall we've nailed the coaching department so far, but just it's a really weird one because we were talking about it just now. It's like you just have a gut feeling sometimes. Yeah. Where it's like if I don't get like the warm fuzzy feeling or my gut doesn't feel right, I'm like, no.
But you have to vibe with the person
exactly.
too, right?
And like sometimes it's like it's nothing they said or like their resume's good, but I'm just not feeling it. And it's like I can't see you working for us like in that like that vision. Whereas all the coaches that we've got, I'm like looking at them in my head of like in a Supra t-shirt onboarding, like can you manage like 80 clients and are you going to be talking how we want you to talk and all of these things, and I'm like I can't see it, and then so I'm just like nah, like it's just not worth it.
Well, that's one thing, how you've all played a role in maintaining phenomenal culture whilst the company has grown super fast as well, which is really hard to do. Because, if you're a team of 6 and you've got good culture between a team of 6, it's like, okay, great. But like the coaching staff, since I've been here, has gone from like 8 to 50.
Yeah.
So it's like that, and that's so fast. And then you've got the background staff as well.
So we're 96 people company-wide as of air date.
So it's like, but it's those decisions you're making there with like, do I vibe with them? Is there just this like connection that we get? It's those types of decisions which are quite hard to make. It's like, because you can't give them a reason. It's like, it's nothing that you've done or nothing with your like qualifications. But if you get that vibe with someone and the energy there is good, and you keep that in mind every time you bring in someone new, and are they going to gel and keep this culture rather than just bringing in people, resume's good, and now you've got a team of just people who don't align, but they all got the same qualifications and they're all qualified to do the role, but the energy is just off.
Culture, you nailed it. That's it. Yeah.
I think as well, like, are they going to get along with people in my head? Because we have like, we're quite dry, quite sarcastic, and a couple of the interviews, it's like I'll almost like I'll like make a dig at them and see how they take it. And if they laugh it off and kind of play it off, and I'm like, oh, cool, like they can. Whereas if they almost get like offended or make it awkward, then it's like, you got no chance with our coaching team, because it's like we rip each other like,
no, you
constantly.
You can't get offended easily and work in this company. There's just no way.
No. Yeah.
No. But it's such a good, like, when I open my Slack, it's like, you almost like look forward to opening it. You're like, I wonder what's in here today. And you open, you look in. It does, it makes it so, it's such a fun company to work for. Yeah. Such a fun company.
So what was because I know when we initially, met, obviously you were a client of mine when I was with TKN, and then, you were like looking for that head coach role, because we really didn't have like a interview. It was like, I like, shot you a message on Instagram being like, oh, that looks good. And then we jumped on a call, but like, what was it? Because we probably spoke like 3 times that year, and a couple of texts with the coaching. But like, what was it at that point that you were like, was it a case of like, he'll do, or like, no, I've just got good vibes about this person from one call? Like, because I don't know what you saw, in it.
Neither do I.
Words of affirmation.
It started to get hot real fast. And so up until that point, I had, 1 or 2 other people just, part-time helping on the side and, doing that whole bootstrap thing. And then when the marketing started hitting, like I was doing the marketing, and then if someone came through the marketing funnel, I was doing the sales consult. And then I was doing on the sales consult, they could choose to get coached by me.
You still had clients.
Yeah, they could get coached by me, or they could work with someone on the team. And once that calendar started to pop, I was juggling balls. Like, you know what I mean? Like I had 10 balls I was trying to juggle at the same time. You were coaching me at the same time. We had developed a relationship. I put out there, like, I'm looking for some coaches to add to the team. In my mind, I'm like, I got to get Ben, but you were with another company. And when you came on, I had no idea at the time, like, you would have had the ability to create this. You wouldn't either, right? I mean, you couldn't imagine it. Nobody's ever done it, right? And so in the early days, it was you and a couple other coaches, but really quickly, I had a leader there. And in my way, I was like, you take care of the coaching. I'm going to go market my face off. And I want to be able to sleep at night, because I'm a person, like, I can't sell shit that I don't believe in. And I knew that we were headed down a direction where I was going to sell a product that wasn't very good unless I started to get really good people. So you took that department, you ran with it. I could go to bed easily, sell my face off. And then it was just this escalation. And, we're all blessed that it took as long as it took. I mean, to an outsider, it's like, you guys ripped. But if you look at the past 24 months, we went from 3 million to 26 million. 24 months, 3 million to 26. But after Q1 of 2025, we're projected based on Q1 over 50 million. So within a 3-year period, going from 3 to over 50 is crazy. But the period before that, where we went from 1 and we were just kind of grinding our way through, it gave us enough time to learn, to grow, to give, Nineveh was able to come on board, and help us with, the scale. We all needed that time to get to where we are now. I had like we said, you wouldn't even have been able to believe you were managing this many coaches and doing what we're doing. I couldn't really believe it, but you were the perfect person for the role. The leadership we have on the coaching staff is phenomenal. That you've built a coaching organization that is the best in the world.
I knew you could do it. So I want to share, because from behind the scenes, right? This was all happening. I'm watching him do this. And he had mentioned you. Ryan was my coach at the time.
That's the thing, because we really didn't speak.
We never spoke,
much,
but he was like, I'm thinking about, grabbing my coach. And I heard him talk about you all the time. I love Ben. He's great. He's the best coach. So
I did not.
behind the scenes, he was like at home, right? He'd be like, he's so great. He's like the best coach. I'm like, oh my God, enough already with this love affair with Ben, right?
He looks like a
freak. He had a lot of hair back there.
Yeah, and Ryan was my coach too. So when he was thinking about it, I mean, it was his idea to say, should I grab them? And I was like, yeah, absolutely you should. I'm like, that's the key. That's the answer, because I'm so process oriented, and I was coaching with Ryan. I could see the process that was happening at this other company. And I'm like, I just intuitively know that him, like Ryan too, I'm like, if you grab both of them, because they seem to be friends and maybe like Ben's a manager and then Ryan reports to him. I don't know. I was like making this stuff up in my head, but I'm like, if we grab both of them, then I think you can scale. Like my head is always in that place because I knew at least you knew what you were doing enough to be in another company that was managing quite a few clients at the time.
But still, like from my perspective, it's like it's always scary at that point to. It's like if I pull these people, like I got to make sure that they have like we have enough business for them to eat. You know what I mean? And so in the beginning, when you don't have a bank account full of money, it's like somewhat of a gamble. That's a scary thing to like really be like, hey, come work for this company and you're going to be taken care of, because we didn't have the demand side that we have now. Now it's like
we didn't have
you
the
know,
money,
and for a while we used to hire coaches and like there was an on ramp. They would, you know, there was an on ramp for them. Now you want to work for this company. You are someone that is a winner and you want to be here. It's full-time salary, all the benefits right from day one. Like you're ready to go. You're onboarded, and there's no question. Are we gonna be able to fill a person's roster? It's like that's.
If anything, it's like we need to make sure we don't fill it up too fast.
Exactly. So it's a different animal now. Phenomenal growth.
I think that you've done knowing, and I don't say many nice things about you at all. So this is one of the first times. Just enjoy it while it lasts. It's taking Ben and Ryan. Like again, I know Ben and Ryan on a personal level, and that was the reason that I came over myself. Like if it was someone else, I wouldn't have. I didn't. Like I know Ben, I know Ryan, I know how good they both are. But then to get them both in one go, to be like, well, it was you first, wasn't it? And then Ben, but it's a bit of a swoop, isn't it? And there's loads of coaches out there, but then to get them both it's like striking gold. Like and you've done a phenomenal job in terms of building the team that you have. It is insane. It's like being I think John used the word like a leader of the whole coaching staff. Phenomenal job. And
I really locked it in with like some fun stuff, right? Like they came over for the first time. I took them downtown Scottsdale. I was like, I got to show these UK boys a good time.
John's really good at the fun.
You know what I mean? Like I was like, I know how to lock them in.
But this my next question was like cultivating that culture and like you're kind of like breeding leaders like by doing those things, and it's like you're showing them like, you know, what could be, you know, taking care of them. And so I would say like from like a leader manager standpoint, like from a coaching side, you were very like, you didn't really manage me. It was kind of like, I'm bringing you here. So
that's my style.
So I don't have to manage, because that was my question. Is like, what's your style?
Sink or swim. Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to micromanage, which doesn't like, I'll strike gold 1 out of 100, luckily. Right. But I'm like, you go do that. And if it sucks, like, got to find someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nineveh, what's your style of leadership?
I think autonomy is important, because I think what you're talking about is having the autonomy, the freedom, flexibility, and trust to be able to go out and do what you need to do as a coach or building the team, right? That only works so much. Does that make sense in terms of scalability? But then at some point, you need to get on the same page about, what's our roadmap? What are our quarterly objectives? How are you guys operating? How are we communicating, right? So I always feel like I come in and I kind of like kibosh the fun that's going on. I'm like, sorry, mom's here. You know what I mean?
Someone's got to take that role.
Do it.
Otherwise it ends up being a shit
like,
show.
Yeah, it's a good balance, you know, so I've learned a lot from him though, just by watching him and go, wow, relationship building is really important, right? So I think like cultivating the personal relationship beyond the business. I think a lot of business owners are like, oh, it's business. You never mix like pleasure and business together. You shouldn't be friends with people who work. Are you kidding me? Like me and the ladies are like joking around. I consider them my friends. I always say like, I'm not your boss. You do realize that like, this is my role. This is what I'm responsible for. I'm not any more important. You're not any less, that's not how we function at this company. But I think autonomy is important, but people do need like, here's your playground, you know?
But there are some fences around
There's
it.
some fences.
Yeah.
And so I think when I came in, I'm like, wow.
Well, there's no fences.
There's no fences. There's a bunch of children running
There's a kid
around.
shitting in the corner.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Did you know there's a dirty diaper over there? And there's like 10,000 of them compounding.
I'm a self-admitted like bad manager, not a good manager. So I'm either gonna hire the right person or I'm not. You know what I mean? And so the one thing that I'm great at is cultivating that culture of creating a place that people want to be a part of it. And there is a fine balance of fun and, where the boundaries are. You have to, especially with a company this size compared to where we were, like there are, some boundaries. However,
there's legal compliance.
Yeah. But we got it.
Yeah.
Keeping that culture is essential to building this thing that, you got to understand one thing about me. She knows this. If I don't want to do something, I'm not going to do it. And so I have to create a company that I am fired up to be a part of all the time. That doesn't mean every day is fun. There's problems that happen and, you got to do that. You got to do that. But at the end of the day, I want to create something that is an epically fun company that people are attracted to, that people want to win for. And I think that if we can keep that, it's just we'll never have a recruiting problem. We haven't had a recruiting problem yet. Like people are attracted to like a magnetic pull to this company, whether it be coaches or salespeople just begging to be a part of the sales team. Ops are knocking her, door down, like wanting to be a part of, what she's building. It's a very unique culture, and I think that that's the most important thing for me going forward. Is like we have to keep this culture right, because nobody wants to work for a stale culture.
Well, mate, speaking from a personal level, and me and my fiance were having this conversation back home, and in the UK, you see a lot of culture within a business is you get paid X amount to do X job, and that's it. There's no culture. It's I pay you to do this role. So then if they ask you to do something that's outside of the role, the response is, no, I don't get paid to do that. So I'm not doing it.
Yep.
But then so they butt heads. It's like, well, if you actually did that, they might pay you more.
Yes,
But
initiative.
then you're not willing to do it, and they're not willing to pay you more. So it just ends up, and that builds such a bad culture. But then, again, speaking on a personal level here, what I was saying to my missus, I was like, I want to do, regardless of what I'm being paid, if Ben says, get up at 2 a.m., you got to get up at 2 a.m., we need something done now. If I didn't do it, I feel like I'm letting him down as a friend. So I'm going to get up and do it. Like, I would hate to, if John was like, oh, I asked him to do something and he didn't do it, I would be gutted. My salary doesn't change. My salary's the same. But I would be devastated to be like, oh my God, like I'm gutted that I've let the team down. But it's because of that's what happens when you build a culture like you have, is you want to do it for the team regardless. And once you've got that,
But
tell you
that's
this,
who you
too.
are as a person, right? That's your character. Like you feel like whatever it is that you do, there's a standard of excellence that you have personally. So I'm the same when I once upon a time made $19,000 a year. I bring the same level of work ethic, tenacity, detail orientation, perfectionism, obsessiveness back then as I do now. So regardless of my paycheck, regardless of how much it's grown, I still function the same, which is, I think, important to note. Like, are you passionate or are you not? And you're just passionate about what you do, right?
winners. You
you're
get
a
a team of
winner.
winners and you create good culture.
Yeah.
Money.
Boom.
I'll tell you this too, like winners will always get rewarded. Like Ben, he'll never mention this, but there was a time where we couldn't pay people, what we need to pay people. It's like, it was bootstrapped. And so we had a good year. We had like these crazy bonus structures. And I went to Ben, I'm like, this is like how we set this up is unsustainable. We're not going to be able to do that anymore. And the psychology of that usually will take someone out of the game. They're like, F you, like I'm out. Ben took, like, I'm like, and then I came to him later on and was like, I can move your salary to X amount. And he's like, I don't want it. I want to like give that to Ryan. So there's certain people that have an ability to play the long game, right? If they believe in the company, it's like some people can play the long game and the reward is going to be there in ways that they can't imagine. But I have this belief, like watching stuff happen in this company in my life, where a lot of times people are too short-sighted. They want it now, and now might be not the right time for it. But 3 years from now, if they were to stay the course, like the opportunity that comes is something they could have never imagined. I think that that's a hard thing because, you know, sometimes people are just too short-sighted, but a testament to you and the culture that we had, you took money out of your own pocket to pay one of your best friends who's, you know, a leader on this coach. And I have a feeling that most people wouldn't have done that. And then most people wouldn't have been seated right here 3-4 years down the line. They would have detoured and been like, man, that person could have done it, but they were just too short-sighted.
It was, and even then it was like, now I felt like with Ryan on board, it's like, I need to be even better because I know how good he is. And it's like you were saying, it's like now we've got so many awesome coaches, but also like the way you guys have made me feel like genuinely wanted and like appreciated. I want every coach to feel that from me. And so it's like, even if it's just a quick Slack message of like, just watch one of your Loom videos at random, like outstanding, like you all good, you need anything? And I think just those little things just make them feel like, no, we genuinely appreciate you being here. It's not just like, do your job. Like, I'll tell you if you've done something wrong. It's like just that words of affirmation kind of thing, but just that support. But I guess like, you know, the last one to wrap this up would be, if you had to give another person who's maybe in like 2020 version of Supra, where they're, you know, 5 feet away from gold and they're looking at like, how do I build this team? I've got an average team right now, but I want like A players that can do the things that we've just spoke about. What would be your like 3 pieces of advice, you know, for them to build that winning team?
I'm not here to create competitors.
Yeah. Fuck you.
This isn't a business show. I would say, you know, that I'm really competitive by nature, right? Like I have fitness professionals.
But just put it.
He was like, I have no advice for
You were
you.
going to say this?
Yeah. I mean, you guys know me by now. I have fitness professionals like they're reaching out, trying to, you know, hey, can I pick your brain? No. You know, one guy was like, how much would it cost me to get on one phone call with you? I'm like, hey man, sorry, I wish you the best, but I'm not here to give business advice to anybody. I'm here to put my foot on this industry's neck and just dominate, because this is my scoreboard right now. I don't play football anymore. Like I'm not an athlete anymore competing on Sundays. Business is my sport now. And I'm here to win in my way. That doesn't, you know, that might some people might feel a certain way about it, but I would take your question another way. And it's like, within the company, what are a couple things, like if you want to grow and expand? I think that it's very important for the leadership and myself to understand where that ambition is, because I'm constantly thinking about ways to grow and different things that we can add. And I think sometimes people, you know, they don't ever express their desire. And I think it's important for you to extrapolate that from your squad. I think it's important for her to continue to extrapolate that. It's important for me, because we're building something so big and people don't even know what's in the pipeline yet. There's opportunity so big. I need to know who the ambitious players are, who's going to be front line for the company, because as it gets bigger, the layers that separate me from Coach 94 is a lot different than, you know, some of the coaches that got in here in the beginning. But it's like, we as leaders have to inherently understand what people want and figure out a way to make that happen. And so I think that, you know, that would be my advice. I'm not giving advice to other business owners.
That's perfect. I was actually thinking of a quote of Louis Simmons, the powerlifter, and he's like, "Don't bring a knife to a gunfight." And it's just like, no, I'm just going to come in with 2 guns, and I'm not going to tell you. But yeah,
My perspective on business advice is a little different, and I know what it takes to build a business of this size, because now the evidence is there. And so I can give 3 pieces of advice and not feel like it's going to make a dent, because most people don't execute relentlessly like we do. Most people quit. I just don't think most people can do it. So I'm okay giving the advice because maybe it'll help them win just a little more. And that really doesn't take away from what we're trying to achieve. Although I don't have a bunch of like fitness people or fitness influencers following me, so my role is different, my audience is different. But I think building a business it's not easy, it's tough. And I think what's worked and why it's worked is because we've got two sides of the brain. It's the front end and the back end, and that's rocket fuel. And when you're going at it alone, it's going to be a very difficult, lonely journey. And I think people compare themselves way too often to like Elon Musk. And then they go and call themselves visionary entrepreneurs. I'm like, you're not a visionary entrepreneur. Like, you're not Jeff Bezos or, didn't invent like electric cars. Like, come on, guys, right? Maybe you're a solopreneur, looking for some advice. Here's what I would say to people, and this might be a recruiting mechanism on my part. You may think you're an entrepreneur, but chances are you're not, because business is a tough game. You heard how competitive he is. I'm competitive as well, but it's a sport. And in many ways, it takes over your life. You have to be willing to make sacrifices. You have to be willing to work, do, and make decisions that most people couldn't fathom or stomach. There have been many times, many days, and many years that I would literally wake up with panic attacks or have anxiety, because that's how terrifying it can feel to build a business when you're entering the unknown. And sometimes daily, like, things are coming at you behind the scenes that nobody even knows about. Somebody be like, yeah, here's this guy emailing about this, or this, take care of this little poopsicle, right? And so there's no amount of business advice that I think would help people really like scale their companies. I think more than anything, it's telling people like, are you sure you're an entrepreneur? Because we have something special at Superhuman. We've landed in the 0.01% bucket here as a company in terms of revenue level and bootstrapping it. It's unheard of. I know what we're sitting on here. So there's, and we're just getting started. We're just getting started. So when we were talking on the last show that we did, and you said, if John said we're going to be $1 billion company, I believe him. I'm like, yeah, it's extremely possible that is the direction that we're headed in. So think about the opportunity that sits here within Superhuman, and ask yourself, if you're in the fitness industry right now, are you sure that you want to compete? Are you sure that you want to go at it alone? Maybe there's room for you here. And same for other people that may not be in the fitness industry but are passionate about health, that are maybe in operations or working at companies where they have shitty culture, or their culture is way too woke, right? We here at Supra have something special. We're like, I always say I'm anti-corporate. Now, I have to follow the rules, but I'm as anti-corporate as it gets. And I think people really enjoy an environment like that. So I didn't really answer the business question, but I went on along the lines of...
If you can't beat us, join us.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can't beat us, so join us.
I think like
I love it.
You are just like the perfect power couple. And despite, you just mentioning how much, stress it is, because, we see behind the curtains, everything that's going on, but like you've made it look so effortless, like front facing, and just in terms of like my experience working here from the start, it's like I've had nothing but fun, like since the beginning. Like it's been epic. And then to do it with more people, and I've had the perfect balance of like lots of leadership traits that I've learned from you, and lots of managerial traits that I've learned from you. So I've got that balance now of like I know how to build defenses, but I also know how like big the playground needs to be. And so it's been like, to let you guys kind of, take leadership roles and stuff as well has been awesome. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's been really hard, but it's also felt effortless at the same time, because I just enjoy every single day. Like, and I can say the same thing for every single coach like that we have in the department. And we get and again, this is the words of affirmation for you guys. Like the messages that I get from coaches where they're like, I don't have to worry about my kids' healthcare. Like Mike Musselman, would like tear up, he's just like, my wife's type 1 diabetic. I've been paying, thousands, and now this is all taken care of. Like Tara spoke to me as like, I don't even have to worry about, my kids anymore, and they're taken care of. Like, you've not only impacted 50 people that love what they do every day, but the 200 added on top of that of their families that are like, we're good. And
I'd like to hear that.
I just met Miguel. Miguel came in, one of our sales guys.
Yeah.
He was, he teared up. He's like, John, just wanted to stop by and see you guys. And he just listed how he was able to move his parents out of a, terrible spot and do X, Y, and Z. And, that's why, as Nineveh alluded to, like, we can't stop. Like, we have a duty now to expand this vision, because we have something that can affect not only, the thousands of clients that we have, and then the butterfly effect of, maybe their daughters or their sons or their circles. It's like within our walls or our virtual walls, we have an opportunity to impact families and people. And, that's what we're playing for.
But it's also the thing that no one will see on social media, because it's like they see like the revenue or, like the ads or whatever. But again, I think it's important that it's like, even though we're trying to hit these goals, it's essentially very selfless at the same time, because God, the burden that you guys have to carry of like, well, this has to work. Like, because it's not just like we have to find other jobs. It's like, no, we've got 90 employees that we need to take care of as well, and their families. Like, it's that you put up the risk, you get the reward. And it's like, if anyone should be, getting a rose, it's you. Like, that's earned. Like, waking up thinking that I would have to like shit, like, we need to make it rain today because otherwise people don't eat. Like, I would have a panic attack. Yeah. So like, and again, you're just like casually just chilling.
That was me, panic attack.
But that's why she comes in the office. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Stop coming in the office. I'm thinking."
I'll come in and I'm like, I need you to print more, okay? Because I'm always thinking about growth and how we can invest. But in terms of healthcare insurance, right? I was like, if we're going to build a company, like, these are the things that we're going to need to do, and we need to provide, and that's just one layer of benefits, right? There's more that we're looking at. Like, what else can we do to take care of people?
And again, that's what people don't see. It's like, and I know you guys are having those conversations, and I think it's just important to let you guys know how much we appreciate that as well. Because again, we feel so taken care of as employees, and that's why it's like, hey, I need you to do this thing like in the next hour. It's like, okay, I'll do it in the next 30 minutes. Like, but that's what makes people want to go above and beyond, because you treat us like we're at the next level, so it makes you want to live up to that next level, which is awesome. So thank you, both of you.
Thank you guys.
But thank you for jumping on the show once again. Be sure to like and subscribe, guys, on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
See ya.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, Supra Human CEO, reminding you to always go get what's yours.